Assalamu alaikum, Fadel Soliman. Welcome in Belgium, and we are delighted to invite you here. What means for you the term sharia?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. All praises are due to Allah, the creator, the cherisher, and the sustainer of this universe. And may his peace and blessings be upon his noble prophet Muhammad and his companions and descendants and followers. Actually, the word sharia means legislation. It's an Arabic word that means legislation. So there is the Anglo-Saxon sharia, there is the French sharia, there is the Islamic sharia. But of course, when people say the word today, they mean the Islamic sharia. So for me, as a student of knowledge, sharia is mainly human rights. Sharia is mainly a code of laws. I have a presentation about the Quran and compared to the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights that was declared by the General Assembly of the United Nations in the year 1948 as a human rights declaration that was declared 1,400 years before it. And I compare both of them. When it comes to human rights, we found that all the human rights that exist in the 30 articles of the United Nations Declaration exist in the Quran. And then we found several human rights that do not exist in the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights. So when we talk about this, we found that the Sharia is mainly human rights.
With the rising Islamophobia in Europe, they are pretending that Sharia is dangerous for them because they are pretending that it's inserting slavery again, bad behavior to women, and cutting hands, and all this kind of stuff. What do you think about it?
I think ignorance is the enemy. And the problem when it comes to ignorance is that people cannot remove the ignorance until they admit their ignorance. And the problem here is that people usually don't want to admit being ignorant, thinking that ignorant is an insult, while actually ignorance is not lack of intelligence, it is lack of information. I have no problem saying that I am the most ignorant person in this place about Hinduism. I have no problem saying so. And I cannot remove this ignorance until I admit it. So I believe that the problem comes from ignorance. When people learn about Sharia, they will understand that it is just some code of laws. If they want to take it, take it. You don't want to take it, don't take it. It's up to you. So we really need to understand. By the way, when it comes to Sharia, in one of the countries that apply Sharia, or I can say that claim to be applying Sharia, while actually they are selectively applying it. In one of those countries that I don't agree with them on the way they apply Sharia, there was a Sharia court, that sent a man to 6 months in jail, and he was lashed 300 lashes for beating up his wife. So this is something that people should understand. The Sharia is a code of laws. The Sharia gave the rights of women back to them. The Sharia makes women equal to men. Equal but maybe not similar, because men and women are equal but not similar. Men are men and women are women. Men are better than women in some things, and women are better than men in other things. So we are complementary. We're not trying to compete with each other. We're trying to integrate men and women together in the society. Each one of them should be doing what he can do best. So I think people should deal with this ignorance and understand it.
Do you think today there is a country where we are close to a real Sharia law? Or do you know any country which is applicating the Sharia law how it should be today?
I don't know of a country which is applying Sharia as it should be applied yet. Most of the and one of the problems of the Sharia today actually is that most of the countries that claim to be applying Sharia are not very successful in doing this. So it has a bad image. While actually when Muslims applied Sharia, they were in their golden era. And the issue is saying applying Sharia, the word applying Sharia is not very precise also. Because the Sharia is not something to be applied. It's something that governs. It judges between people and between the government. Let me give you a small example. In Egypt, until the 1971, we had a law about inheritance. If someone dies, 42% of his money goes to the government as a tax on inheritance. And then when President Sadat, introduced Sharia to the Constitution as the main source of legislation, this law collapsed because actually it is anti-Sharia, because there is a statement, a rule among the main rulings of the Sharia is that whatever a deceased leaves behind him belongs to his heirs alone, but doesn't belong. No one else has the right to touch it, not even the government. So here the issue is, was this law successful or not? From my point of view, it's not successful. Why? Because it makes me lose money. But from the government's point of view, it's a successful law. Why? Because it's a good source of money for the government. Who tells if it's okay or not? The Sharia here. So the Sharia is not something to be applied, but rather it is something that acts as a judge between people and each other and between people and the governor. So the Sharia allows some laws and prohibits other laws. So it is also not good to say that if we apply the Sharia, there will be a lot of good things that will happen in the country, fortune, success. This is not true. This is not true. Because according to the Sharia, it's a code of laws. The legislators in the parliament should start writing the laws according to the rules of the Sharia. That doesn't mean that those laws are good. The Sharia can allow a law which is not good enough for the country. Because the Sharia says legal or illegal, but it doesn't say if it is suitable or not. So what is suitable for Egypt may not be suitable for Belgium. What is suitable for Belgium may not be suitable for Holland. So the Sharia tells you legal and illegal. But maybe something legal is not suitable for today, and maybe it's not suitable for here. Maybe it's suitable for somewhere else and some other time. So the Sharia doesn't allow laws because they are successful laws or unsuccessful. It's because it is legal or not. So here the main role comes on the shoulders of the legislators themselves in the parliament to make something suitable for the country and for today, okay? At the same time, according to the code of laws, they should not deprive people from their human rights. For example, the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights in the article number 16 gives the right of marriage to people. So according to this article, no government can deprive people from getting married. But until today, the United Nations doesn't give a human right of divorce. Why? Is it because maybe 70% of the customers of the United Nations don't have divorce in their religion? So the United Nations compromised? I don't know. But the issue is, the Sharia sees divorce as a human right. So the Sharia gave the right to the man and to the woman to end the marriage if any one of them mischose his partner. So the Sharia looked at divorce as a human right, exactly as marriage is a human right. Here, when people wanted to start divorcing each other, they said, let's give up the religion of maybe Christianity. But according to the Islamic religion, that's a human right. So this is just a small example.
Do you think that the young Europeans who are claiming now the Sharia inside Europe, for example, before it even has implanted in any other Muslim country, do you think they have the right to claim Sharia, although it's not existing outside?
Saying, do they have the right to introduce Sharia or to suggest Sharia? Definitely they have the right to do so. But I believe that it's too naive to think that you will convince people who are in a growing atmosphere of Islamophobia and of racism today, with all the anti-Islamic sentiments growing, that you will convince them to apply the Sharia. So what you need to do more is some PR campaign for Islam itself. So of course they have the right to introduce it. If I advise people to apply Sharia, then because I love them, by the way, and because I'm suggesting something good for them. But I shouldn't be naive thinking that they will apply it. There is something else that should be done now. Also, convincing people to apply Sharia or trying to make people apply Sharia doesn't come by going yelling and shouting in the streets. Allahu Akbar, Takbir, Allahu Akbar. This is not how you do that. It is, number one, you should call people to Allah. You should call people to be just. You should fight racism. You should participate. You should integrate yourself in the country first. Because our example is Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And by the way, Prophet Muhammad was an immigrant. And he integrated fully in his new country, Medina. Even though when he left Mecca, he left with tears in his eyes, and he said, "O Mecca, let know that you are the dearest country to my heart. Had not your people get me out of you, I could have never left you." After 8 years, Mecca was opened back for him, but he did not go back and live in Mecca. He stayed in the new country that gave him support. And he gave it also the best that he can. He gave it Islam. So the issue is, he is our example. He integrated fully in the new country to the extent that he even changed a little bit of his culture in order to match the new culture of the new people, but without compromising his religion. Religion here came number one. And to prove this, I will tell you a small story that happened. Prophet Muhammad saw Lady Aisha, his wife, coming back from a wedding. So he asked her, "Did you have fun?" She said, "Yeah, we had fun." He said, "What did you sing?" She said, "No, we didn't sing." He said, "How come you don't sing in a wedding, you Meccans? You Meccans should understand that you are not in Mecca anymore. You are here in Medina, and the people of Medina love singing. Why didn't you sing for them? Ataynakum, ataynakum." And he suggested the song that could have been suitable to be sang in a wedding, which means that he is calling the people of Mecca to change their culture in a way that suits the people of Medina, but in a way that doesn't compromise the religion. Because here, my religion comes number one.
Do you think we are ready, we Muslim living in Europe or elsewhere, are ready to live with a Sharia inside a country?
Sharia is the gift of God to humanity. And God will not give us a gift if we are not ready for it or if we don't need it. It's not if are we ready for it or not, it is do we need it or not? And all humanity needs it. But the issue is, how do you introduce it for people? It's a system, it's a legal system. People should understand it first. For example, let me give you an example. I was in a debate in one European country. And the other, person said, "I don't respect the barbaric punishments of the Sharia." I said, "Like what?" He said, "Like cutting off the hand of a thief." I said, "You think this is barbaric? But I also think that jailing someone for stealing 25,000 euros for 5 years, spending on him 50,000 euros every year, stupid. Whose money is this that you are spending? It's the taxpayers' money. Did they allow you to do this? Those who are unemployed, do they allow you to spend on someone who stole 25,000 euros, to spend on him 500,000 euros? Besides, let's go to any jail and go to the people who are jailed for 5 to 10 years and ask them, what do you prefer? To go back home and live with your kids and your wife with one hand, or to live here for 5 to 10 years and your kids are orphaned and your wife is widowed while you are still alive? And tell me the percentage of people who will accept cutting off their hand. Will you be more merciful to them than themselves? This is the issue. There is a lot to say about this. Besides, in Islam, when Islam puts such a hard punishment, and I know, of course, it's very hard. Definitely, it's hard. It puts the punishment and it doesn't apply it on people until they know that if you steal money, you will be punished like that. So no one will be punished like that without knowing. The issue also is applying such a punishment means that there was no doubts at all, which means if someone steals a car because he sees the keys inside the car, he doesn't get his hand cut off. Why? Because there is doubt. He can just say, I thought this man doesn't want his car. He's leaving the key inside. Here, in this case, he can be punished some other way, like putting him in jail for or any other punishment. If someone takes money from someone else who is keeping it outside, not saving it inside something locked, okay, like a safe box or something, this is also another doubt. He can say, I thought this money doesn't belong to anyone. So here when the Sharia puts a ruling like cutting off the hand, it means with no doubt at all that this person violated the sanctuary of someone else and took from him the money that maybe he was saving for his kids' school tuition, or maybe for a surgical operation, or maybe for something very important. So it's not about cutting off hands of people. No, it's about securing people, to make people feel secure in the society. But again, talking about the Sharia or reducing the Sharia into just punishments is not wise, because actually the Sharia is much more than this. For example, according to the Sharia, zakah should be paid, which means 2.5% of cash savings of individuals should be paid to orphans, hungry people, poor people, needy people, 5 to 10% of the agriculture income, 20% of extracted resources and minerals like gold, like petroleum, should be given all to who? To the poor people. Who are the poor people? They are the mainly they are the customers. They are the people who go and spend in the shops. So if you give a rich person 100 euros, you may come after 1 year and find it in the same pocket of his jacket. He even forgot about it. So rich people tend to save money. While poor people, give a poor person 100 euros. After half an hour, you won't find a euro with him. Why? Because he needs. He goes and he buys, which means that this amount of money, according to the Sharia, is poured in the market. And this makes you avoid recession. One of the things that people should understand also, that in 2008, the recession that happened in Europe and in the United States of America, that led to 20 million people losing their jobs, was because of two things that are not allowed by the Sharia. Securitization, which is a practice that they do in the stock market, and selling loans by loans. Those two things are prohibited by the Sharia, and because of those two things, 20 million people lost their jobs. So reducing the Sharia into just cutting off the hand of a thief or stuff or this or that is not wise, actually, and actually is deceiving people.
So you are explaining now about the Sharia for adults. Is the Sharia also applying for children or for animals or for other kinds? For example, lately we saw images circulating by email of a boy who had stolen some bread, cut off his hand. What do you think about it?
Well, according to the Sharia, if someone, anyone, even an adult, steals to eat, he is not to be punished for that. Or for anything essential, he is not to be dealt with or punished like that. And according to the Sharia, people will not, no one will be punished until people get the rights first. So people should feel full before we go and punish people. So the Sharia is not about punishing anyone. Besides, of course, God himself doesn't punish a child. So how come the Sharia punishes? But of course, the children can be kept in a place special for children, maybe the juvenile places or something like that. But of course, no child will get his hand cut off. This is silly. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. One of the things that bothers me a lot is that to see European Muslims all the time complaining that they are victims of Islamophobia, victims of the growing anti-Islamic sentiments, victims. I think if non-Muslims kill all European Muslims, okay, then they deserve that, because European Muslims are allowing themselves to be victimized. They stay away from politics, they stay away from integrating in the society, they stay away from elections, instead of bringing tens of Muslim parliamentarians who speak for them. So if we keep on complaining like that, this is actually silly. And if the Prophet ﷺ was alive today, he would clear himself from what they are doing. I always like to look a lot about American Muslims, because American Muslims are much more progressive, actually, maybe because of the political or the historical context of America, that America is a country where minorities go, become oppressed, fight for their rights, and then get the rights at the end. So I see American Muslims fighting with their eyes at the end, looking for victory, that they will be victorious one day. While I see Europe maybe is a continent of minorities becoming oppressed, so they leave. So Muslims should understand, if they keep thinking like that, they will never be victorious. Think like American Muslims, guys. Put your eyes at the end, fight for your rights, you will get it. But you have to fight smart. We're not doing our work as it should be done. That's it.